5 years from now, you'll be very happy you've done it. Recognize English language books as a competitor at home. You're going to find that you're losing audience to them. It's inevitable. So you have to think about how you can use price and release dates to the extent possible as a weapon. You're going to have, Italian is going to have to compete, which it never had to do before. It's going to have to compete with English for readers in the Italian market. And the last thing is the most difficult thing of all to accept, but it's reality. Bookstores, am I the oldest guy in this room? I might be the oldest guy in this room. I expect to live beyond bookstores. I expect that before I go, I won't have a bookstore within 20 miles of me if I'm not in Midtown Manhattan, most of the time. And it's a very simple math. Sales are moving to online sales of books. They're moving to ebooks. The amount of sales being transacted in bookstores is dropping. It will drop every day until bookstores close. When a bookstore closes, it accelerates the movement of people to online purchasing, because the store that used to be 10 minutes from them, now the closest store is 30 minutes from them, and the online purchasing becomes more attractive. This is a vicious cycle. It can only lead to decline until there's virtually nothing left. There are 1,300, I believe, superstores in the United States today. I don't think we'll have more than 600 5 years from now. I don't think we'll have more than 100 10 years from now. Now, that may not be extinction. There are still be 100 bookstores in America. That's something, but it's not much. And I think that this is not a uniquely American phenomenon. This is something that we're on the front end of. In the United States, I see, when I used to say this 4 years ago in the United States, I got the same reaction that I expect I'm getting here, which is somewhat disbelief. It's not disbelief in America anymore, okay? Everybody can see it. They've watched the stores close. You're going to start to see that happen here. Maybe not in the next 3 months or 6 months. Maybe it's next year or the year after that where the evidence will be persuasive, but you will see it. And that concludes my prepared remarks. If there's any time and we want to have some questions, I'd be glad to take them. Thank you very much.
Question in English. Talking about the decline of bookstores, how about collectionism?
How about?
Collectionism, people that like to collect books. Vintage.
Well, first of all, I didn't say the book would disappear. I said the bookstores will disappear. And fortunately, we have print on demand. And there is absolutely no reason why anybody who wants anything in the form of a printed book shouldn't be able to get it. And in fact, there are already many services available that will go from blog to book, right? So you have a bunch of things that you like on a blog, or a bunch of pictures that you took. Apple's got a service. You upload your pictures and they'll deliver you a printed book. So I think that people, whether they are, I don't know whether this translates, but the term, I think maybe it came from Cory Doctorow, pervy for paper, right? There are people that have a fixation on paper. They love the smell of the paper. They love the smell of the glue. They can have books till the end of time. But the fact is, for most of us, we will find it impractical, too expensive, not as good an experience, and harder to get. But it doesn't mean that they will cease to exist. And in fact, used books, I think, will be around, forever. There, I don't know how many billions of books there are on the planet, or even if there are billions. I suppose there are billions. But they're not going to all be burned. They're going to be traded like antique furniture. They're going to hang around for a long time. So I think we'll have books, but I do think we're probably 10 or 15 years away from when a 5-year-old will see a book and say, "Mommy, what's that?" Because it won't be a common thing. It will be something that it won't, just like a story I met about a kid who grew up in a house where there was no TV. They were very modern, and the first time this 4-year-old saw a TV, she walked up to it and she's looking all over, and somebody said, "What are you looking for?" She said, "I'm looking for the mouse." Okay, so the fact is, these things over time, I mean, it's the way things change and expectations change, and I think that expectations about books will change, but there will still be collectors and there still will be books.
C'è un'altra domanda qua davanti. Vi prego se vi presentate, così aspetti il microfono che arriva subito, e se vi presentate e dite anche se siete editori o... è finito là in fondo. Successivamente toccate.
Miha Kovac from Ljubljana, Slovenia. Just two short questions. First, do you think that the problems which Borders is having now in USA are somehow linked to the spread of ebooks?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Do you think that the problems which Borders,
Yes.
the bookshop chain, is having
Yes.
in USA now are linked to the spread of ebooks in US market? And second question, you say bookstores will decline. What do you think will happen to public libraries in USA?
I'm sorry,
What will happen to the public libraries
oh, the public, okay.
in terms
First,
of ebooks?
okay, first Borders. You know, when the flu hits, or very cold weather hits a city, the old and the sick die first. And that's what happened. Borders has been mismanaged horrendously for more than a decade. And if the bookstore market in the US were growing, they wouldn't be going out of business, but they wouldn't be doing well. So yes, in a sense, the migration of sales away from brick and mortar has certainly been a contributing factor to Borders' demise. But I think, you know, I think I'd rather blame the smoking than the flu, personally. The public libraries. Public libraries public libraries, first of all, are public. They're supported by the government. So what happens with them is not a commercial decision necessarily, or a commercial reality. It's a political reality. And my personal take is that the library, as a repository of intellectual property, the need for that is declining. Quite aside from Peter's point about preservation, which I accept, but the point of local access, availability, being created by the building with a lot of stuff in it, that's going away as a need. And consequently, the motivation to fund it is also going to be harder to get. So I think that libraries are on a path that is similar to bookstores. I don't have enough knowledge of how many libraries of various kinds there are and what their support base is and how fast things change to make any predictions the way I do about bookstores. But I would expect that the trajectory will be similar, if not identical.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Alex Fori from Il Saggiatore. Yesterday you talked to the FT about the new rules for the App Store and concerning, so basically you were saying well, now Apple lets you buy elsewhere as long as you have that opportunity built in. I wanted you to comment on that if you could, and also on this interesting remark you made whereby websites and app stores increasingly look the same, and what does it mean for Italian publishers?
Well, what an app does is take an experience which really, there's nothing that can be done on an app that hasn't already been done on a website. Everything that can be done is done on the web. You want links, they're there. You want video embedded, it's there. You want links to audio, it's there. You want interactivity, it's all there, okay? But what an app does is pull this information together into something which can reside on a device and put it within a user interface which is instinctive and intuitive and works very well. Now, in fact, you can deliver a website that looks exactly like an app. You wouldn't know that it wasn't an app. It looked just like it. The difference is that an app can function without being connected. A web-delivered experience can only function if it is connected. That is a distinction which makes less difference today than it did yesterday, and will make less difference tomorrow than it does today. So consequently, it will be possible, whatever the experiences are in apps, it will be possible to deliver equivalent experiences without an app, simply through a web device, a website, that allows you to download some sort of a client from the website that lets you, that is in effect a browser, that lets you manage the content on the website that way. Now, it's sort of above my pay grade to comment on exactly how this all worked from a technological point of view. You're going to hear from Peter Collingridge later today, and he knows about 1,000 times more about these things than I do. But from my perspective, that's something that can't be lost on Apple, right? I mean, I had an experience a year ago, last spring. Michael Cater of Publisher's Lunch, and if you don't know Publisher's Lunch, I recommend that you start to read Publisher's Lunch. He wanted to deliver an app for BEA, for the Book Expo America. He wanted something where people could, on their phone, could find out who's doing an autographing and all that, all the BEA information. And he said, do you know somebody who can make apps? And I said, well, I know somebody who is good at technology, and I sent him to my friend Liza Daly, who is, as far as I can tell, the smartest person about ebooks in the world. And Liza said, well, I'm not going to make you an app for the Apple Store, but I can make you the equivalent as a web app. And she did. And I have it, actually, on my iPhone. I could show it to you at a break. And it looks just like an app. You can't tell it's not an app. The only difference is you had to be connected in order to use it. With an app, you might not have to be connected. So that, to me, was like, does Apple know this? Well, they must know this. Okay, so I'm thinking they've got something that is more valuable if connectivity is hard and less valuable if connectivity is easy. Connectivity is getting easier and more ubiquitous every day. So I think that's the distinction that I was pointing to. Now, the question about what Apple's doing with ebooks is still an open question. They seem to be saying that Kindle, Kobo, Google, and Barnes & Noble will no longer be allowed to send their customers to a website to buy books if they don't also allow those books to be bought inside Apple, and by the way, give Apple 30% for the privilege. And since the publishers under agency set the price and set the compensation for the channel at 30%, what Apple is saying is, you have to give us all your money. I cannot see any possibility that it will make sense to those people to give them all their money. Now, I've heard a number, and I don't know if it's true, and I can't remember where I heard it, but I did hear that 20% of Kindle sales are now taking place through apps rather than through Amazon, through the Kindle store or through the Kindle device. So, if that's true, then I think Apple's timing is not very good, because Amazon is surely going to give up 20% of sales rather than to deal with what Apple has put in front of them. And I believe that if the ebook stores disappear from the iPad, that Apple will have created a customer service issue for them that will be massive. And the customers will not blame Apple, will not blame Amazon, will not blame Barnes & Noble. They're going to blame Apple. They're going to say, you sold me a $500, $600, $700 device on the basis that I could read books on it. Now, there aren't any books available except the ones you've got, and they're not enough. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. We don't know exactly what's being said to whom yet. It could be there's going to be an app market with Apple, and there's going to be an ebook market with everybody else. It could develop that way.